ladies and gentlemen. Reluctant biker here, hailing you all from New York City. I hope each of you is doing well. It's been a while now, and today I want to take a moment and share with you my impressions of the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, otherwise known in the US as the INT 650. This is an owner's review. This is indeed my bike, and I have put in it so far about 1,500 miles or 16. If you're interested in the Interceptor 650, please stick around and we'll get started. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and ride safely, and God bless wherever you are.
Let's begin by talking about engine and power. In other words, what can this bike do, and do it with ease without being forced? First, this bike shines in the city. Within the city limits, going at speeds anywhere from 25 to 45 miles per hour, this bike handles extremely well, precisely because it has a very docile, very gentle, very forgiving nature. And to top it all, it has a slipper clutch, which helps tremendously when you're caught in traffic or with stop and go type of traffic that defines our kind of a city life here in New York City. So yeah, it handles extremely well in the city. It's very agile, it's very light, very nimble, so you can easily get it out of like tight spaces with ease. And it's not top heavy, so you know it's easily maneuverable. Now, can it handle the highways and interstates? Yes, it can. Okay, highways with speeds anywhere up to 55 miles per hour. It really handles them with ease. You can ride on it all day long, and you can even pass cars on it. It's just, it has all the power you need. Precisely because Royal Enfield, in their infinite wisdom, they added a 6th gear to this bike. So that 6th gear on a highway with a speed limit of 55 miles per hour, you probably will never need it. I seldom have employed the 6th gear on a highway with a limit of 55 miles per hour. Now, having said that, obviously, you know, you can definitely use the 6th gear. It helps with the bike. The bike shines really. Now, interstates with speed limits of anywhere from 55 to 65 miles per hour, because those are kind of the maximum speed limits in New York State. There's some limitations, of course, and I'm going to say that. Can it do 65 miles per hour? Yes, it can. Can it do 70 miles per hour? Yes, it can, and it can do that all day long. However, if you push it above 60 or 70 or 75 miles per hour, if you push it, if you go beyond that, I have to say that you're going to have to stop like every hour or two, precisely because your hand is going to be a bit, numb, precisely because of all, you have to keep rolling on the throttle all the time. The slightest rolling off the throttle really reduces the speed quite perceptibly. So you can actually feel it, you can see it. So if you want this bike to go at 65 miles per hour and above, you're gonna have to roll on that throttle. All right. So yeah, it's just, you know, the 650 or 648 cc V twin can only handle so much, but it will do it. Now, is this bike stable on the highway? Yes, it absolutely is. Now, it is a naked bike, so the wind is gonna hit you unless you put a windshield, which I did not, because I didn't see the need for it, and because I don't mind that little wind that comes my way. But you do get hit by wind, so you get that wind blast going at you. Is it significant? Well, it depends. I think that's very subjective, but I didn't mind it. I went, you know, I take the highway quite often, but the longest ride was a 2 to 3 hour ride upstate. I went to Catskills not too long ago. I spent a night there, and I just really roamed the mountains. It was beautiful, and that's another thing about this bike. It loves those back roads. It's just it loves to cruise. It loves to take its time and just chill. And yeah, I mean, absolutely gorgeous bike. The throttle is buttery smooth, the gears buttery smooth. It's just amazing. Now I have to kind of say this, if you're planning to go on long tours, then you probably want a bigger bike, okay? And by that I mean a bike with a bigger engine. And the reason I say that is I actually had planned a 500 something mile tour on this bike, and I wanted to do it, and it definitely can do it. You just have to kind of break it up into multiple days. So yeah, it does have its limitations. I mean, I wouldn't ride this bike on the highway all day long. It's not gonna do it. Cross country, can it do it? Absolutely. Will I want to do that on this bike? Maybe not. Maybe not, unless I wanted to challenge myself, and then yes. But it does have its limitations. Now, I do want to compare this bike to my other two bikes, the previous bike I had, the Z900 RS, and the Moto Guzzi V7 3 Stone. I have to say that out of the three bikes, the Moto Guzzi feels more planted on the highway. It's not bothered by the wind. It was aerodynamically designed by the Italians, who do have, by the way, a wind tunnel at their kind of a production factory. So they test these bikes, and I think Moto Guzzi is specifically designed to cut through wind, among other things. It does that job phenomenally well. Just absolutely. I've never felt more confident and more secure than I felt on the Guzzi. Not even on the Z900 RS. Actually, you know, you feel okay, but the wind blast on the RS is just significant. So I didn't care much for it on the highway. But yeah, out of the three, Guzzi wins. But does the Royal Enfield Interceptor, you know, can it handle the interstates and the highways? Absolutely it can. Yes. Long rides, well, you're gonna have to break them up, okay? Because otherwise you're gonna see that this bike does need a little bit more oomph. It needs a bit more power. So it could handle that 65 to 75 miles per hour range with ease, instead of, you know, just you wanting to constantly roll on that throttle. Okay, so yeah, engine and power, fantastic. Can it do everything? I think it can. I've ridden it I have to say, I have never ridden this bike on dirt road. I have ridden it in, obviously during, sunny days, dry days, but also on wet days. So had no problems with it. I have ridden it on semi-gravelly kind of road, on cobblestone road. Absolutely just fine. No problems at all. What about fuel efficiency? How does the Interceptor perform in this area? So-so. It has a tank that I believe it maxes out at 3.62 gallons of gas. Based on my calculations, it delivers on the highway, strictly on the highway, it delivers about 55 miles per gallon. And if you were to combine the highway and the city riding, I believe it gives you anywhere from 48 to 50. On a full tank, the last time I rode it only on the highway, on a full tank it gave me somewhere between 180 to 190 miles per fuel tanks, for full tank. It's so-so. I was hoping it would deliver better, but it's okay. Now, of course, I'm comparing this to my Guzzi, who on a single tank, gave me anywhere from 250 to 300 miles. So, which is, I think, an unfair comparison, because Guzzi's tank was bigger by at least 1.5 gallons. But I was hoping that it would actually give better mileage, but it does okay. I only feed it, if you're wondering, I only feed it premium gas, so 93 and higher, nothing else, and it's okay. It's okay. So my decision on this is so-so. Not too bad, but not too great either. Okay, I know a lot of Triumphs that have bigger engines than this give better mileage. So yeah. Now let's talk about safety. What does the Interceptor has to offer? And of course, we're talking about brakes and any other technology that plays a role in providing safety for the rider. I've got to say, I found the brakes quite effective. They did their jobs very, very well. They're made by Brembo. You're going to read kind of the label by Brie on them, but that's just an abbreviation of by Brembo, which is, according to Brembo's website, is a brand specifically dedicated to small to medium displacement motorcycles and scooters, and they really do their jobs very well on this bike. I have zero complaints about the brakes. The bike also includes ABS on both the front and the rear wheel, so that is just such a fantastic piece of technology to have in terms of boosting safety for the rider. And it comes standard on the bike. Just amazing thing. So yeah, great job in terms of safety. I also want to add one quick note about the tires. The tires on my bike were stock tires. I haven't changed them. I have seen no need to change them. They just do their jobs incredibly well. I have not experienced any negative kind of a experience that would lead me to conclude that these tires are no good. They handle very well on turns, highways, wet roads, gravel. I've never had them skid or slip, none of that. So for me, for the time that I have ridden this bike, they've performed very well. Is Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 a comfortable bike to ride? Absolutely. I can say with certainty, having ridden 3 other motorcycles before it and several scooters of large displacement, I can say with certainty that this is one of the most comfortable motorcycles I've ever ridden. And I have done very little to. I've not changed the suspension, so everything is stock, with the exception of the seat. I changed the stock seat to a touring seat that the Royal Enfield offers, and the only reason I did that, there was nothing wrong in terms of comfort with the stock seat. I had read that the touring seat had a bit more padding and it's a little bit more comfortable, so that is the only change that I made to it. The riding position is relaxed, is standard. Your shoulders are straight. You don't need to lean too much like I had to lean on my Guzzi. So there's not that slight lean forward, none of that. It's just a beautiful, relaxed bike. Exceedingly comfortable. I mean, it handles the New York City roads, which are, I think, some of the most atrocious roads in the country, but I think I would include the world too. And it handles them exceedingly well. It does them all very well. So any road imperfection, it really absorbs them well. And I think it has to do a bit with the large tires. It has to do a lot with the suspension, with what Royal Enfield did to it. It's just, I have seen zero need to change the suspension. And I also have a back problem, so comfort has always been one of the key aspects, when I have always considered when purchasing a bike, or even after I purchased the bike. So I truly appreciated what Royal Enfield have done in this area. Just amazing work. I am 5'10", and I can easily flat foot the bike. Absolutely no problems there. There's only one kind of observation I have to make about the foot pegs. They are not placed in the most ideal position. They're basically in the center of the bike, right below you, so every time you come to a stop or at a red light, you kind of they get in the way of your legs. But I've found my way around them. I would have preferred that the Royal Enfield, and this would have been such a beautiful call, if they did the same thing as the Guzzi did, or still does, where the foot pegs are placed toward the middle but slightly forward. They're just amazing. Like probably I've never seen those foot pegs on any bikes. The position of foot pegs on the Guzzi, it's just so smart because they did it thinking about rider comfort in that sense. Yeah, that is the only way. You're just gonna have to learn your way around them, and that is it. the bike is supremely comfortable. You will not find much to complain in terms of comfort. Now, the Royal Enfield offers a very simple instrument cluster. It has basically 2 clocks. It has the tacho and the speedo, and they both do their jobs very well. The speedometer is very accurate in its reading, and so is the tachometer. So yeah, nothing to write home about. Nothing fancy like the Triumphs, but they're very, very practical. They're very minimalistic, and they're very utilitarian in that sense. The digital display doesn't offer much, really. The only thing that I appreciate on that digital display is really the fuel gauge, and even that is not entirely accurate. Let me explain. So when you fill up the tank, you have, all the bars filled. Suddenly you ride it, and toward the end you have 2 bars left, and then you have 1 bar left. The moment the last, the moment you get to the last bar, it immediately starts blinking. So and the blinking lasts for a very long time. Just heads up, guys, you have about 40 miles yet to go on that last blinking bar, and even more. Okay, I think I tested mine, and I rode it on local roads, so even if I got stuck somewhere, it wasn't a big deal. I really put in, once that last bar started blinking, I put in, in excess, I think, of 40 miles. So do not be afraid. That just, warning you, hey, heads up, if you are somewhere, in an out of reach area, or just, start thinking about refueling. But it does have a kind of a bad effect on the rider, because it kind of starts freaking you out. And it's just the blinking itself, it's just a distraction for the rider. But I guess instead of like a light being on, it's that blinking bar that keeps reminding you, hey, you need to fill up the tank. That's basically it. So very simple, very minimalistic, very utilitarian instrument cluster, but beautiful. I love it. I have no complaints. What about the fit and finish? Meh. From a distance, the bike looks beautiful. Okay, let's just talk about the looks. It's just such a beautiful bike. A lot of people have asked me, what year is this bike? And when I tell them this is a 2020, they all they look at me in wonder, like, how can that be? This bike is from 1950s. So they nailed it. Okay, they captured the old soul, the old look, the retro look. It's just in every way, shape, and form. Okay, just 100% from a distance, the bike looks amazing. Now, up close, if you are kind of a perfectionist and you're kind of looking at little details, you're gonna notice that this bike ain't a Triumph, and definitely not a Guzzi. Okay, Guzzi takes their fit and finish to a whole different kind of an art form. I know a lot of people say things about their Triumphs, and they're all true. They're just the fit and finish on them. It's just beautiful. I've seen them myself. But I think nothing beats the Guzzi. The Guzzi, it looks as if it came out of a perfection. Just a beautiful fit and finish. Now, having come from that bike to this one, oh my god, the imperfections are numerous. You know, a wire out here, exposed here, it's a little imperfection that, but I'm not a stickler for that, so they don't annoy me very much. But you know, you get what you pay for in this case. But not a lot to complain about, really. But you know, it's okay. It's so-so. That's my opinion. So-so. But as long as it does its job well, I've got no complaints. How reliable is this bike? Well, as I've mentioned before, I've only had this bike for a few months. I've put in it in excess of 1,500 miles, so I really don't know. I don't know what to tell you. To me, so far, it's been perfect. I've had zero issues in any way, shape, or form. It turns on when I need it to turn on. That's it, really. Every instrument on the bike does its job very well, or has done its job very well so far. So I have zero complaints about that, but I also can't give you a definite answer either. So please go out there, read reviews, watch reviews, you know, of owners who've had them for a while. So in terms of reliability, I cannot say, but it's been very good to me so far. We have approached almost the end of this long-winded review, and I apologize for that, by the way. So I do want to address one question. For which type of motorcycle rider is this bike best for? I think that's a good and valid question. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right off the start, this bike is perfection itself for the newbies. For beginners, it's an absolutely gorgeous bike to have. Again, as I said, it's very docile, it's very forgiving, it's very smooth, and it just I think it will not you know, instill the fear of God in the new riders, but it will embolden them and fill them with confidence quite quickly. And the good thing about this bike is that for new riders is that they will not want to upgrade anytime soon. They'll keep this bike for at least a few years and even more. Now, what other type of motorcycle rider? This bike is also for those who are tired of riding everything else. So they basically have ridden all types of bikes, and they have a big garage, and they either, you know, want to downgrade, come from a heavy bike to something more docile, something less heavy, something more manageable, smoother, smaller, lighter, more agile, then definitely this bike is for them. And they do actually. If you look at the reviews, a lot of people a lot of these kind of riders ride this particular bike, buy it. This bike, though, is not for those riders who basically have had some experience with bikes, but they haven't experienced everything, and they yearn for a bigger bike. Okay, a bike with a bigger engine. Physically bigger, you know, something that has more of a presence than this particular bike. Those bikers are going to appreciate, are going to love this bike, but they are going to move on from it pretty quickly. And I think I'm one of them, unfortunately. I will tell you more on this next time. But yeah, these are the middlings, or the riders who fall in the middle, and yeah, these type of riders are gonna get tired of this bike pretty quickly. Finally, we have reached the end of the video, and before moving on, I just want to summarize a few things basically that I love about this bike, and I just want to emphasize them in this brief summary. So the first thing I love about the bike is the wet clutch. What an amazing thing, okay? Especially if you live in the city, in the stop and go traffic. Absolutely amazing. It's easy on the hand, it's easy on your soul and your body, and it's buttery smooth, and it's just perfection itself. The next thing I love about this bike is the 6-speed transmission. Now I have to say, it has a very smooth transmission. Finding the neutral is super easy, okay? You will seldom miss. You will miss, but very seldom. And that's saying a lot when I can, you know, contrast the transmission on the Interceptor to that on my previous Guzzi, which was a nightmare. That was a ritual to find the transmission on the Guzzi, whereas on the Royal Enfield, just easily. And another key characteristic of its transmission is the long gears, okay? And here's what I mean by long gears. I simply mean that the first gear will take you from 0 to 30, okay? Easily. You will not feel the need to move up. And the second gear can do easily 30 to 40, even 50. And the third gear will go easily from 50 to 60. I mean, the long gears boggle your mind. Unbelievably smooth, unbelievably good. In the city, I never feel this need to go past my third gear. And the other three, well, once you hit the highway, welcome fourth, fifth, and sixth gear. So absolutely amazing there, love it. The other thing I love about this bike is the level of comfort it offers. Again, as I said, I have a low back problem, and for me comfort is a priority. And on this bike, absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And one thing I dread, the one idea I dread, that if I do sell this bike, whatever bike I'm gonna get next, I'm not gonna have the same level of comfort. I know it. Or I hope. I hope I will have. But in my experience, there are a few bikes out there that offer the level of comfort this bike offers. Next, the last thing I love about this bike is that, well, not the last thing, there's one more thing I have to add, but the parts are cheap for this bike compared to most motorcycle brands, okay? Let me give you a simple explanation that ties in with the other thing I love about this bike. Let's look at the exhausts. Now, I have put on S&S exhaust, kind of the pipes, and they ran me, I don't know, between $400 to $500. The set, $500 for the entire set. That's crazy. On my Moto Guzzi, you couldn't buy just one muffler for $500, let alone both of them. You couldn't buy anything. Like, the seat cost anywhere, the original seat on a Guzzi, I'm talking about the comfort seat and whatnot, anywhere from $400 to $500. The grab rail, everything massively expensive. On this particular bike, I mean, that the exhaust pipes were the most expensive thing. The seat, the touring seat, it was $110, but shipping and all of that, it went to $140, $150, I think, with tax. So it's absolutely cheap, okay? Extremely cheap. And when I say cheap, I mean, when I compare it to the money I paid for my other bikes. So absolutely reasonable prices on this, and they're readily available, okay? So even if you have to order from India, which I did for the seat, it got here in like 5 days. I mean, absolutely, their delivery is spot on, everything. I don't know what Royal Enfield is doing, but they're doing just something amazing, and I think they're going to be the next big thing in the world. And in Europe, they already are. But in America, I don't think they've established a strong foothold yet. But they're gonna, because this bike is just going to take off. Absolutely, great job, great job. Ladies and gents, we have come to the end of this video. This channel was designed to help other fellow bikers or those thinking of joining our community. So please feel free to leave a comment and or feedback if you think that it might be helpful to someone. You may also subscribe if you enjoyed the video and would like to hear from me again. I would also like to thank you deeply for stopping by, and I also want to apologize to you for such a long-winded review. I promise I will not do it again. Be well wherever you are. Enjoy the summer. God bless and ride safely. Until next time, Reluctant Biker out.